Hi everyone, this is Naini Thakur and welcome to Mind Matters. I'm just going to wait for a couple of you to join before I start my introduction. Hi everyone. Great. Welcome to Mind Matters. This is an Instagram live series where every Tuesday we discuss various aspects of mental health and how it affects people across different walks of life. Today's conversation is going to be all about social media. Everyone loves social media, so you guys are going to want to stick around. Now, during the second wave especially, we saw people across various platforms, and I'm sure a lot of you are actually watching this as well, help each other, be it on Twitter or Instagram, to find remdesivir injections or oxygen or even hospital beds. Now, while it has its pros, there are also a bunch of cons. Staying locked in, social media users kind of found themselves scrolling for new information, news, or even simply sympathizing with one another. Now, in this process, it was, there was a lot of doom scrolling and a sense of social media fatigue set in. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it definitely set in for me. And our guest today is Tara Bedi. She is a public policy and community outreach manager at Instagram India. And we're going to be speaking to her about how social media affects mental health from her unique point of view of being an Instagram insider, and how individual platforms' policies can help shape up community well-being. So without waiting any further, I'm just going to quickly add her. Okay, so she's just joining. Great. In case you guys have any questions, please send them in the comments while we wait for her. Okay, she should be joining any minute now. Okay. Someone's asked what today's conversation is about. I guess you missed the intro. So we're going to be discussing how social media impacts mental health from an Instagram insider's point of view, which is going to be very interesting, and try and understand what platforms like Instagram are doing to help out people who, be it in terms of abuse or okay. Okay, just a second. For those of you who missed the introduction, my name is Naini Thakur and I'm a journalist with Forbes India, and I host this Instagram live series called Mind Matters. Okay, let me go. Hi Tara.
Hi Nani, how are you? I'm so sorry for the delay at my end.
All well, no, that's completely okay. Just give me a second. Right, I think I'm good. Great. Tara, so why don't we get started? This is a very interesting and super exciting conversation. So I'm just going to turn off comments so that there's some distraction. Okay, this is good. Great. So why don't we start by talking about, the minute you kind of wake up, one has a habit of just, opening social media, be Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And it's almost become a habit now. So, in your personal opinion, given that, of course, you're not a mental health professional, does it take a toll on your mental health? And are you also a victim to something like this?
So, I think different people have different experiences with social media, and I think Instagram is very much part of that, right? We are spending lots of time online, especially given the pandemic and how it's kind of made our lives largely virtual and making the only opportunity really for connection, for any kind of exploration, or even for learning. When you think about the our younger users and
Yeah.
schooling, all of that is happening online. So I think we're trying to make sure that Instagram remains a space that is welcoming. It's a positive space. It's an inspiring space, and it's a space that people really derive value from. And that value could be anything. It could be trying to learn Tamil. I saw an account that a lot of people are learning languages through Instagram, and that's also a really kind of interesting thing that's happening. But yes, of course, there is a lot of time being spent online, and with that comes various issues. So, our
Yeah.
goal really is to try and give people as much control over that experience and introduce as many tools so that they can kind of figure out what works for them, what is a sort of balanced way for them to interact with Instagram, and then based on that, really kind of customize that experience for them and try and make it as comfortable, as positive, as intentional and inspiring as possible.
Definitely.
So that's kind of been our effort, and I'm happy to talk about more that we've done, but I'd love to take some of the other questions.
Right. During the pandemic, there were people kind of providing support to strangers via social media. To what extent do platforms like Instagram help people talk about their mental health issues?
So I think we really want to make sure that people have a good and positive experience online. But beyond that, we also want to help support things like mental health and well-being and conversations around it, destigmatizing the issue of mental health and well-being. And we've seen that our community, especially the mental health community, has a natural affinity towards Instagram. So
Yeah.
just to give you one kind of interesting example, last year we launched a new feature called Guides.
Yeah.
And what that guides feature basically allows you to do is to curate pre-existing content into one sort of almost like a listicle and preface it or contextualize it. And we actually launched that with the mental health community on Mental Health Awareness Day last October. And we saw over 20 partners, and these are just the people that we did outreach to and have relationships with. We saw so many partners actually use the guides product to create guides that help people unpack mental health and well-being, especially in the context of COVID and the difficulties and the challenges that it's presented. So we're really trying to kind of support that as much as possible. But beyond that, we have long-standing partnerships with many organizations. We run a program called the Teen Counter Speech Fellowship with an organization called Young Leaders for Active Citizenship, or YLAC, which is the easier way of referring to them. And one of the basically this fellowship incubates young teens and young change makers to use Instagram as a vehicle to create peer-to-peer support networks, to do advocacy or create awareness around issues that they confront, whether it's bullying, whether it's gender inequity, whether it's mental health. And mental health is a strong pillar of that. Another thing that we've been doing, which is an interesting format that we've been playing around with, we have a partnership with Terribly Tiny Tales, which is a popular microfiction platform. And we've been pairing them with organizations to help, contextualize and make messaging around certain issues more accessible to people and more relatable and more understandable to people, realizing that people are not really listening to me or their parents and their school teachers. And especially when it comes to young people, we have to be engaging in the way that we deliver messaging to them as well. So what we did with Terribly Tiny Tales was we partnered with them and the Suicide Prevention India Foundation to create reels and short format video content that helped people just understand how to seek help should a situation arise, how to provide help and how to report things for suicide and self-injury, and how to actually recognize those signs that somebody around you might be going through a challenge. So we are trying to facilitate as many conversations around this, but it is always a work in progress and we're always looking to do more.
Right, right. Like, apologies for this sound and stuff. I have no idea. It's completely out of my control. But I hope
No
you can
worries.
hear me. Coming to the next point, which is that social media kind of tends to portray perfect lives, as all of us know, which makes people, especially young adults, care a lot more about the way they look, what they buy, what they eat, And is Instagram taking steps to contain this or make the platform more positive, or will this kind of remain the nature of social media platforms?
So one of the things that we've done, and this is something we've been testing since 2019 in an effort to get it right, is we've just launched the ability for people to control whether their likes on their posts can be seen or not. And we've heard feedback from different communities that, likes create a lot of pressure. So we've actually given people the option to control whether their audience can see it or not. But it's, again, like I said in the beginning, it's really for people and our users to decide what works for them, what is a comfortable experience for them, and then set those boundaries for themselves and for their communities around them. And with hiding likes, this is one such initiative in that direction.
And how are you fostering a more positive community on Instagram?
So we partner with, again, multiple organizations, but one of our happier partnerships is with an organization called Yuva. And Yuva is a youth insights media company, but they are a sort of socially conscious media outfit. And
Okay.
what they're really trying to do, and by the way, they're huge, huge advocates for mental health, and we do a lot of work with them around mental health as well. But one of the projects that we've been running with them is called Unlabeled India. And the hashtag that it lives under is 366 Days of Kindness, because we really believe that we need to encourage people to become kinder with each other, to have more empathy for the other person's experience, because it's very easy to just leave a comment and say something nasty, but the impact of that can be quite severe. So we're trying with Yuva, what we did under the 366 Days of Kindness program is we also ran a small incubator called the Kindness Championship, where they actually worked with young emerging creators to unpack what are those challenges that they encounter when it comes to a negative experience online, and what can they do to promote a sort of more sort of a shared understanding. And I want to just call out, because this is something that we're hearing as feedback from the community, is that there's this pressure always to be happy and to always pretend like it's a positive thing. So really our goal with these engagements is to approach everything with kindness and empathy. It need not be always a happy situation, but to try and have some kind of shared common understanding so that you can then have dialogue. And that's really what social media is about. It's about engaging with each other through content.
And when it comes to doom scrolling, particularly, how is Instagram helping one take a break?
So a couple of years ago, and I think this is, again, I want to call out, this is not just an Instagram thing. Every platform has a version of this, including our devices. But we launched our time spent tools, and it's called Your Activity on Instagram under your settings. And what that does is it helps you monitor how much time you're spending every day and an average sort of time per week that you're spending on Instagram. It allows you to set a reminder for yourself. And let's say for me, 30 minutes is more than enough for my day. But if I'm somebody who's a business owner and my business is kind of largely being operated on Instagram, then 30 minutes might not be an appropriate time. But depending on you, your context, we allow you to set a reminder. And when that time comes up, you get a little pop-up notification on Instagram that says, hey, it's time to kind of switch off. Another thing that we've done is, it's a very small thing, you may have noticed it, but when you are scrolling through your feed, sometimes you might see a little check mark that says you're all caught up. And we found that people feel like, okay, if I haven't been online for the last 7 hours, I may have missed out on something. So this is also our way of kind of helping deal with the FOMO, that you have actually caught up. You've seen what your friends and your family and the people that you follow on Instagram have posted since you last got onto the app. So it's a lightweight way of saying it's okay to now take a break. And then lastly, we've given people, and this is not a doom scrolling intervention, but this is more for that feeling that sometimes you get into Instagram for, doing X thing, but you end up spending 3 hours doing absolutely nothing.
I can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So again, like we really want people to feel like they have control over this experience. Similarly, notifications can kind of be a distracting a distracting factor as well.
Yeah.
So we've given people the ability to mute their notifications for a specific period of time so that when they need a block of focus or they need to study or they need to, I don't know, write, read, whatever it is, then your phone is also not bombarding you with those notifications, adding to that feeling that, oh, I must be on Instagram. But just to kind of take a step back, I just want to reiterate that if if people are not happy about the time that they're spending on Instagram and it feels kind of mindless or doom scrolly, if that's a word, then that's not something that works for us either. We really want people to feel like the time that they've spent here is creating some value.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And talking about abuse and trolls in particular, I mean, it is a nuisance and it does tend to affect women, especially disproportionately, and take a huge, affect someone's mental health very badly. From a policy perspective, how are you striving to make Instagram a safer and more positive platform?
So we have fairly robust not fairly, very, very robust community standards. They are global standards, but they do take into account cultural nuance from different parts of the region. But the goal is to have them be broad so that they apply to a large community of users. We have policies that actually look at bullying and harassment and look at hate speech that is gendered or directed towards women. And that stuff is not allowed on our platform. And we've given the ability for people to report every part of the app, whether it's a reel, whether it's a DM, whether it's a comment, whether it's an account. And especially when it comes to bullying and harassment, it's really important to kind of report that one piece of content, whether it's a comment or a DM. Because just think of a scenario where my account is full of, sunshine and rainbows and mountains and seas and whatnot, but I'm being really nasty in my comments. We as Instagram don't have a way of kind of knowing that that's what you're doing because that's not what you see unless it is reported to us. So whenever, if people are being harassed, we really encourage them to report that specific piece of content. We also have, in fact, we've launched a whole bunch of features that again give people more control over their experience. We've created comment filters that are automatic and then manual, so you can customize them based on your experience and languages or words that are particularly triggering or violent in your opinion, beyond what we consider offensive as a sort of general statement. We've given our creator and business community the ability to switch their DMs off and control who can add them into groups in their direct messages. We've also recently launched something called multi-block, or what we're calling multi-block, which gives you the ability to not just block the individual that is harassing you, but to block any future accounts that they may create. Because very often, somebody will do something horrible, the account will come down and then they'll come back again and then start harassing you again. So this is really to prevent that repeat offender from continuously creating a harmful environment on Instagram. So we keep kind of updating our app and our experience to make sure that there are more tools for people to draw those boundaries for themselves. And we really encourage people to be ruthless about it, because you're not accountable to the people that are being awful to you. And we believe that if you can kind of cut them off a little bit, that will help disempower them as well. Which is not to say we don't take action. We encourage people to report stuff and we will review those reports and take it down.
Of course. And one last thing, Tara, how do you, as an individual Instagram or a social media user, maintain a healthy balance of using social media?
I mean, I will say this, everybody's different experience is different. Everybody's context and relationship with social media is different. For me, I mean, it's funny because once upon a time I worked with my father and he was just livid about the fact that we were on Facebook in the office. And the irony is now I get paid potentially to be on Facebook and Instagram. So everyone's context is different. Everyone's experience is different. But what I do is I set a reminder for myself, and my reminder is 30 minutes, which is not to say I like dutifully switch off at 30 minutes. At least it's just a reminder to me to say, okay, do you really want to spend more time? I limit my interactions on Instagram. And, very often people will reach out about work things. Other people will just reach out about random things. While I have an open account and anyone can follow me, I really limit the ability for people to reach me on Instagram because this is my personal space.
Yes.
And I use it to share, pictures of my holidays or dog or etc. etc. So that's kind of where I am. And one last thing, I use it to follow the things that I love. For me, it's very much like an exploration of my passions, and I think I can put them into two buckets: plants and foods. Sorry.
Right, right. No, that's great advice. I think, and a lot of people watching this might actually relate to it, and this might really help them. Great, thank you so much for this lovely conversation this afternoon, Tara, and look forward to more such conversations. And thank you once again for your time. And to all the viewers, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of Mind Matters.
Nani, if I
Thank you.
can interrupt you and
Sorry.
just make
Yes.
one plug for everyone
Yes.
that is trying to understand what I'm talking about in a more detailed fashion. Go to about.instagram.com/community. And this is where you'll find everything that I've spoken about in a lot more detail. Just go there, check it out, and please, 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 a sincere plea to everyone to go through their settings and customize them based on their needs.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point that you made. Great, thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Nani.
Bye.